Welcome to No Room for Phonies. I'm Charles.
And I'm Pam.
This is episode 162, and today we're diving into some ideas sparked by a book we've both been reading called Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway.
This is really not a book review. We're not really here to tell you whether to buy the book or give it a star rating, although I would highly recommend that you do read the book. And I gave it a very high rating. So
Well, I have read part of it and listened to part of it.
And I've read it twice. So
what caught our attention were the conversations the book started. Galloway raises some interesting questions about what it means to be a man today, why so many boys and young men seem to be struggling, and what families and communities can do to help them thrive.
And because we're recording this during Father's Day month, some of what we talk about touches on fatherhood. But this episode is a lot broader than that. It's about men as sons and husbands and partners and friends and mentors and members of a community.
We'll talk about things like purpose, responsibility, kindness, friendship, fitness, relationships, resilience, and why so many men seem to be searching for connection and meaning.
Some of the ideas in the book really resonated with us, and there were lots of things in there that made me really stop and think. And some, as always, we don't necessarily agree with, but whenever you meet something that you don't agree with, then it challenges your thinking and your perspective, which is always good.
Yeah, and that's usually where the best conversations happen.
Whether you're a father, you have a father, you're raising sons, whether you love a man or simply care about the well-being of the men in your life, we think that you'll find something here really worth considering.
So grab a coffee or a beer or a glass of water, whatever, settle in and join us as we explore some timely ideas about masculinity, fatherhood, and what it means to live a good life.
So this is episode 162 of No Room for Phonies.
Let's get started.
So Scott Galloway is an academic and thought leader, and he's very concerned. He mentors a lot of young men in our current society, but he's very concerned about young men. And he's drawn a lot of attention to the issue of boys as basement dwellers and moms leading the charge to support their sons. And the whole idea of how we can raise boys in this current society, the way things are, to thrive.
And he mentioned, I don't know if it was on his podcast or in his book, he mentions incel, which is basically means involuntary celibate, which some of these young men have labeled themselves. But I think he's going beyond just that group of young men.
Yeah, so the rule of work hard, play by the rules, and you'll be better off than your parents has been severed. And he works in the States, but I believe that that's very true in Canada as well. Mm-hmm. And young people most definitely have disappeared into their phones.
Yeah.
And this does not help young men create social capital or acquire wealth, make friends, whatever. Young men behave in a lot of ways as if they have no guardrails. And we're seeing that. I mean, we feel in Canadian society that there's not enough supervision of young people. And there's not enough accountability.
Yeah. So there's not enough teeth in the court system either.
Yeah. And so we've had some young men in gangs spraying bear spray in people's faces in
our local community.
And grabbing young kids' cell phones and running, like a lot of stuff that show that there are no guardrails for these young men. And he feels that some of these young men feel like victims and that they don't understand anymore that we need collective effort, incredible bravery, risk-taking, aggression, and sacrifice. Yeah, and he feels that's a product of the fact that there is no war to fight, during the Second World,
there's no war, there's no greater collective purpose for a cause.
And particularly since COVID, we're every man for ourselves. We have a hard time showing compassion, and we often pull away from people when they're struggling.
Yeah, it was when we started into COVID, I thought, this is going to be kind of like I was thinking of Anne of Green Gables and when everybody caught the Spanish flu or the plague or something, and the whole community rallied around each other and supported them, and it wasn't at all.
Because today's young men, in his estimation, are unbearably lonely, not economically viable, not emotionally viable, and basically adrift.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's research to back
he
this up.
doesn't just pull things out of
No, and while he is wealthy now, he grew up in poverty, and in his opinion, being rich makes you rich. That's it, but it doesn't make you a better man.
And what he's trying to do is use his social and wealth capital to make the world a better place, and his particular focus is young men. So he has these three things that men are to protect, provide, and procreate.
So the protect part, not just in war, it's beyond that. So a person of integrity or rectitude is just and honest and honorable. And it's important for men to sacrifice for something bigger than themselves, not to pick on the vulnerable, but to look out for your family and community.
And then the provide part, in his estimation, is taking economic responsibility for his household. And also, in the same way, not necessarily being the person who's earning the money, but getting out of the way of a partner who may be better at money and picking up slack elsewhere in the home.
So not checking out, but being part of carrying the mental load or taking up the mental load for the household, especially if the wife is the mother is the one
is
doing the majority of the work. And thirdly is procreate, which of course, yes, he means let's have more babies in society.
Yeah.
But he's not just talking about procreating in the biological sense, but also somebody who invests time, energy, and resources to raise kids who are stronger, smarter, faster, and more impressive. So you can always look for foster kids, kids that need adoption, kids who don't have fathers. Anyway, you can procreate in that way by contributing into
which he does through his mentoring, I feel.
And
I feel that we really are in a society where we don't give more than we get.
No.
And we don't provide more love than is given to us. Like, that's not what's natural for people to do. And we're not striving to teach our boys to be better sons and brothers, etc. And that's where he says it should matter to everyone if men are not thriving, if they're not becoming and contributing to society.
Yeah. And he points out, like, the Catholic Church and certain coaches of kids' sports and the Boy Scouts have given mentoring boys a bad rap because of what's happened. But the incidences of it are probably a lot less than the benefit. I mean, it has hurt the effort. So now I think even Big Brothers and Big Sisters programs, I think the Big Sister program is full, and the Big Brothers program can't get enough Big Brothers to sponsor.
And one of his statements is that the past is a prologue to everything and nothing. So because a good amount of success and failure is just random and accidental. So what happened in the past can help you be better, but it doesn't necessarily make you successful or worse in the future.
Right. So you don't have to latch on to the past and then have that as a ball around your neck and not move forward.
He feels that being a good dad means being a good to the mother of your children. And most boys do fall apart when a male role model leaves. If there is no father or male role model present, the son is more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college. And he talks a lot about his college experience, and it's very interesting to read all that in the book.
Yeah, but he talks about his stepfather and also, I think it was a neighbor or family friend who really took him under their wings and fathered him basically because of his absent father. And that made a huge difference in his life.
Because having a good person express how wonderful you are hundreds of times changes everything. And that doesn't even necessarily mean through words, a clap on the shoulder, taking teaching you something, doing something with you.
Yeah.
And he feels that we should be really helping boys look for that slow dopamine hit that comes from reading or working out or spending time outside, rather than the quick hit that comes from like TikTok and Instagram.
And neuroscience is showing that dopamine isn't, it's the chemical in our brain that's released when there's something novel, something new.
Right.
So that's why the algorithms on TikTok work, because it's always something new
popping up.
But if there's a new book or a new exercise or a new place that you go outside,
but it
still gives you dopamine.
Right.
It's just slow.
Which is called delayed gratification, basically. Right. And he again quotes Jonathan Haidt, who says that we're underprotected. The kids are underprotected.
Yeah.
No, they're underprotected in online and they're overprotected in reality. I wrote it the wrong way.
Okay.
But we overprotect kids. We bubble wrap them. We don't want them to fail. We push them. We do all this.
But we let them go to bed with tablets.
Yeah.
And not monitor what they're watching.
So small, deliberate, regular efforts accumulate and in time pay off.
I was just reading about the Canadian government's efforts to ban certain, not the whole device, but certain apps are going to be restricted for under 16-year-olds. And there are still comments of people of saying, government, mind your own business there.
Yeah.
It should be the parents' job. But the thing is, parents aren't doing it.
So, and parents are shepherds of their children's lives. You're not engineers, because you can't engineer your kid into something.
No.
It doesn't work that way. And peers will dwarf their parents in influence quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And women are attracted to men for kindness, intellect, resources, and ambition, and social status and potential.
Yeah, and that's even our son was talking about the difference in interest in his dating profile when he listed that he had a car and could drive.
Right, and
there was a lot more.
Goes up, right.
There's a lot more interest because women are looking for that independence and resourcefulness, like able to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
So the American boy culture says play sports, make fun of your friends, get into a little trouble, but kindness and asking for help are actually two of the unheralded weapons for men. They are big components for men, and both go a long way.
But groups of boys and gangs, yes, they provide that membership of being, with other guys, but they don't teach
the kindness
and they don't teach
asking for help
because you don't want to look like you can't be tough in front
of
your
buddies. You want to model yourself and learn from people who have helped you. So he says focus boys on work, relationships, fitness, embracing challenge, and getting strong physically and mentally.
And then he lists 10 thoughts to describe how greatness and happiness are in the agency of others.
So you can use your agency to connect with others is
yes.
I think what he's trying to say. And the first one is get the easy stuff right. Show up early, have good manners, follow up, answer the email.
Take a shower, wear deodorant, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. And believe that you deserve it.
And number 3 is know your own worth. And number 4 is leave the house, have hobbies, meet people, be visible.
Remember, we were talking about hobbies the other day and what the difference is between pastime and hobby. Like, just watching a video on YouTube isn't a hobby.
No.
And we were thinking, well, isn't something you make with your hands? And not quite. So we decided it's something that's a deliberate choice that it takes a bit of
skill, and you have
sacrifice.
to learn it.
You have to learn it, and you have to sacrifice some time to do something. Like there's an outcome from it.
And then the one, he calls it lone wolf howling, but he talks about this young man who called him for advice. And he said, I'm being offered this really good job with this really good salary and everything, but I think I want to go off on my own. And he's like, if you're offered a good job, take it. Be in the room where you don't belong. Do things that make you feel that you're out over your skis. So you don't have to go off as a lone wolf. You can get in the room and find your way.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and unfortunately, there are some podcasters and tech bros who are saying, oh, skip college. You can become an entrepreneur and make 6-figure salaries. And so, of course, that feels
sometimes that happens.
I know, but it's like it's like making the pro hockey team.
Yeah,
it's like 1 in whatever 100,000.
And he says, fail fast. Quitting is also a virtue and sometimes a necessity. And then nothing ventured, like nothing gained. Take a risk and then know when to walk away, because sunk costs often keep us in the room long after we should be there, when we should be diversifying and looking for something else.
Find high counsel. So basically look for advice higher up, whether it's
a good mentor, whatever.
Mentor at work, teachers, family members that are closer to retirement and have had successful jobs, things like that. And don't get caught up in shame. That's number 10.
Don't let the failure or the setbacks paralyze you or make you stuck. Be gracious. Shame and fear of embarrassment hold people back. And part of maturing and becoming a man is acknowledging your blessings and creating opportunities for others. And he's really big on that. He really invests in a lot of other people. That's one of the things he does a lot.
And then moving on to some of his thoughts about fathering or parenting is at the end of their lives, parents want 2 things: the knowledge their family loves them immensely, and the knowledge that their love and parenting gave their kids the skills and confidence to add value to the world and live rewarding lives.
Because he really feels that if you're not giving back or you're not like growing as a person, your life isn't that rewarding. You're stuck.
You're not much.
You're stuck.
And I mean, the sad thing is there are dads that don't feel like this towards their sons.
No, just get a good job, earn a lot of money,
and they've checked
win every game, like do all this. You have to be excellent at everything instead of just, being a human being.
Right.
So he talks then a lot about health, that boys need to run and get exhausted and roughhouse and build things and sweat.
And dads should kiss their sons and hold their hands and hug them goodnight.
And he talks a lot about his own boys and how he does that. So, and he also believes very strongly that we need to endure rejection in the physical world so that we get used to having people say no to us, to our face.
That could be on the dating scene, a young man asking a girl out and getting a rejection, or if he makes a move physically in a romantic or sexual way and gets rejection, all of that.
But I think the other thing, that the flip side of that is if they don't get used to rejection, then and see that it works out in the end for themselves, then they're not honest when they want to say no to somebody else.
Exactly.
And they hedge or they avoid or they whatever and just saying, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that, or I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it there, or whatever. So they lie or they figure things out because they're just not used to understanding that rejection is just part of life.
And also rejection at work and in other places, not just in relationships.
And I find that the most frustrating thing is that you just don't say anything. Instead of just calling me and saying, no, I don't want to do that, or I'm not available, you just don't call or you avoid it. So, and then he says, never attack your parents when you are rebelling.
Like, part of being a teenager is separating yourself from your parents and quote unquote rebelling. It's basically finding who you are and separating yourself from your parents, but don't attack your parents. So
he says, so he says, be strong. Exercise is an antidepressant.
I thought that was pretty.
You don't need to take medication. Get out and move.
Get out and move. Don't think about exercise. Just do it.
Eat well, develop discipline, and avoid addiction.
Show up for yourself so you can show up for others.
And get outside. Use light therapy and avoid screens. There's a thing where it says, like, go to bed every night at the same time. When you wake up in the morning, get out in the sun as quickly as you can for a period of time. And be the best, strongest version of yourself. Fitness, nutrition, money, work. And if you accept the support of your parents, that means you get to take their advice as well. Right. So you can't have it both ways.
Where you call for advice and then snap back.
Yeah. So stop watching porn, move, get to work, take risks, and cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
And that's a matter of self-care. Like I was just reading about what is self-compassion or self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And it is talking to yourself like you would talk to a friend.
Right.
And then he has
a mnemonic device with 5 letters, SCAFA, SCAFA, and it's the 5 pharmaceuticals for mental well-being.
Yeah.
Sweat, clean eating, abstinence, family, and affection.
Vulnerability he sees as a strength. You talk about your feelings. You're authentic. You're male. You're also human.
Which means you have emotions despite the manosphere saying that you don't.
And you're to give back and rise above yourself. Be a better person, a friend, a neighbor, a son, a father, a husband. And he says, in even this other book I was reading, like, live by a code. Have a series of adjectives or behaviors that guide or define your behavior. And although he comes across in person as, pretty harsh, he is like a pretty soft, like, and he stresses being consistent. Like, if you decide, like he has, that he wants to be generous, a really good dad, and patriotic, then those are what you consistently do.
That's his code. Yeah, for sure.
So,
and he insists that young men need to take responsibility and acknowledge the feelings of other people. And then if you get riled up, at some point, you do need to let things go and not harbor a grudge.
So teach your sons to dance and dress appropriately.
So they're not the wallflowers at the dance.
Yeah.
He says action absorbs anxiety. Again, more about fitness and movement and just getting out there and doing stuff.
And action restores agency and defeats inertia and self-criticism. And it's always available. You can always get up and do something, right?
Yeah. And we've reviewed the book, The Science of Stuck, which also talks about the small steps that you need to do.
You just need to do one thing, right?
The inertia of being stuck.
And even if you make mistakes or pivots or twists, they're all just stops along the way. As long as you never believe that you are a victim and head for the basement to get stuck, then you'll keep moving.
And we are better people and better men thanks to our friends. However, friendship should be easy if it's real. I still think that for a lot of men, friendship isn't easy.
Well, and I said
there's a lot of phoniness that goes on. Just watching at the flag football game, I was just watching the dads, how they talked with each other. I'm like, there's some of them were like, you could tell that they were buddies and they could talk about life, and the others, it was like this phony surface.
And 15% of men say they have no close friend.
Right.
Not even their wife.
I think that's pretty low. I think the number's higher than 15.
Yeah. Friendship is a muscle that actually strengthens with use and atrophies with age. So you must be proactive to have friends. You've got to compliment, remind them of their value, be upfront about what's going on in your life. And when a positive feeling or thought strikes you, you have to emote it and take uncomfortable risks with people.
Don't you think, a lot of the women that I know, this all comes more naturally to
me.
And for men, it doesn't.
Men have to really make an intentional decision to lean into their emotions or laugh or cry or embrace chaos or engage.
Yeah. And it's great to lean into admiring others and be a better, kinder person. There are appropriate ways to admire and compliment women, and definitely it's good to compliment other guys.
And he believes a facet of masculinity is to lower the temperature or put out fires and be comfortable with others expressing big emotions. And as we have told our kids over and over again, you are the average of your 5 closest friends. And in the end, that's kind of all you have. So you should never shut down the opportunity to meet and learn from new people, but prune your friendships regularly.
Yeah, be generous with everything but your time.
So don't get taken advantage of.
Yeah. And make a periodic edit of everything in your life. Health, nutrition, exercise, money, friends, etc. So basically be reflexive. And I like the idea of a self-audit.
Yeah, and I think friendships for me do fade if I'm not getting some little form of intellectual stimulation or kindness or empathy. Then I kind of back away,
Right.
because
Well, for years you've been the initiator, and then
and I
there's
still
never.
initiate. I do.
Yes.
I'm probably a very strong initiator of kindness and definitely intellectual contributions.
And sometimes things just fade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most boys and men are hungry for connection and deep conversation.
But they are unwilling to step out and take the risk to start. So
And so he's
encouraging men to take a risk, go first, see what happens.
and ask for help.
Yep. And the man uses his innate assertiveness to help other people in need. Show up. Don't ask what you can do. Just do it.
And in the other book, it says that is called compassionate empathy, where you just show up.
In the
like you can understand
not the permission to
intellectual.
feel. What's the one you're reading?
Permission to feel.
Oh.
You can understand someone's problem intellectually, and you can even say, I've been in your shoes. I'm sorry, but the real kind of compassionate empathy is when you actually just show up and do something for the person.
I know we don't usually get into politics, but I just saw this Ted Cruz accusing Tallarico of not being a man.
Yeah, I know they're really going after
him. But Tallarico came back with, well, a real man, and he listed some of these characteristics. And he said, and my father would go and mow the lawn of this elderly couple, and he would never tell anybody he was doing it. And sometimes, the couple might have known or might not have known, but he never made a big deal of it.
Right.
And he's saying, like, a man just does things for people without trying to.
He's read this book.
Maybe.
Drink alcohol socially and in moderation. I don't feel you need to drink.
No.
A few twists of fate are all that separate us. And I think we forget that sometimes. Because we get very hard on people who are homeless and all that. And I believe they should be taking action too. I'm not saying that.
No.
But we have to be careful.
Yeah.
And love and relationships are the ends, and everything else is just the means. And then he goes on to talk about romantic partners
for the single guys. And the best romantic partners are synced up on passion, values, and money. So you want to have those things.
Whatever your passion is. Yeah. Men should always strive to make women feel safe. And the secret sauce of mating is kindness and consideration of others.
Focus on relationships.
Yeah.
Men should focus on family and friends because that's essential to long-term happiness. Invest in their partner, girlfriend, or spouse daily. Don't keep score about when there's a fight or who's done what.
Right.
Bring forgiveness, generosity, and engagement to the partnership and show up.
His one quote is, good partners protect you from others. Great partners protect you from yourself.
Yes.
And a great marriage is one where you genuinely want the other person to win. But you always need to be on the same team. And we are what we monitor or what we pay attention to. And Rita and I always used to say that about like when we were supervising as principals. What you monitor happens. If you stop monitoring something, then you obviously don't feel it's important.
Right.
And he says that porn is what does he say?
It's
a masculinity killer and a risk killer.
Just like alcohol, though, he kind of says, like, don't get all black and white about it. Be moderate.
Yes.
And just avoid getting addicted.
And if it's a problem, you have to get help. And again, he talks about not keeping score in marriage and never letting your wife be cold or hungry, and expressing affection and desire as often as possible. And
I think it's interesting because his mom was often cold or hungry because of how poor they were.
And
I think he's being
very
literal about
focused
that.
On young men being considerate and kind and whatever to their mothers.
Mothers. But I also think when he's saying to your wife, don't let them be cold or hungry, it's the literal, but also the on the emotional
picture.
level. And
well, how many times have you, like whether it's in literature or in real life, heard of very rich men who treat their wives like crap?
Yeah, exactly.
So fatherhood is where unconditional love takes over and the need to protect and provide takes over. But he feels all the pressure on fatherhood, and I think he feels that way about motherhood is irrational, that you can be a good or an even great dad on a lot less stress than you think. And being a parent, being a father always feels scary and tenuous.
It always does. And new fathers almost always feel unprepared for being dads, and that is normal.
This is my favorite, though. Parenthood is not fun.
No.
Because you don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, what do I want to do
We're
today?
going to have fun today.
You say, what do you do? Every day you do whatever's best for your kids.
And that might not always be
fun.
No.
Having kids is the best thing you can do that will ruin your life.
I mean, I think he would say that when you're hanging out with your children, you can do fun things.
Well, and if you read the book, how he talks about his kids, that's...
Well, and there's also other books we've read where the dads bring out the play in kids, and the moms often don't do that.
And he loves to give his kids experiences, for sure. So take affection back, especially with boys, for bonding and confidence. Always extend a hand, engage, focus on listening and not fixing. Just love them and enjoy those small moments.
And communicate principles of kindness. Again, I think that's about the fourth time of many.
He's big on that. He talks about
which
it a
I
lot.
agree with. Empathy and perseverance. Don't assume that this will show up in kids because you have money and give them everything.
In fact, sometimes I think
rich kids are less kind, have zero sense of empathy, and don't have perseverance. They give up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and not all of them, but I'm just saying
they could lean that way pretty fast.
And because they get a sense of entitlement.
Well, and the other thing is the extremely poor also end up not being kind, can't empathize, and don't have perseverance.
Right.
Either.
Because you have to teach that kind of steadiness and resilience and how to use energy well. And you have to tell your kids when they're messing up. I mean, we still do that even in our adult children.
And you need to be interested in what they are interested in.
And I think as you grow as an adult, you have to remember that you also have to be interested in what your parents are interested in too.
Yes,
I think
that's true.
It comes a bit more reciprocal because he definitely showed that behavior towards his mom.
Yes, absolutely. And I just think I was fortunate. My dad showed interest in every one of my interests and also in my brothers. But even though our interests were completely different, I felt 100% supported in what I was interested in.
So generosity and love and support and not keeping score, but also he advocates for very, great boundaries around respect and honor, that you don't treat he talks a lot about his mother.
Mom.
He basically, when it tells the story in the book of his mom passing away, and it's quite remarkable how he behaved.
How he supported her through all that. With your sons, always outline expected responsibilities in the household. What is work versus family and who does what is something that every couple faces and needs to figure out together. And with kids, once you have them.
And you have to figure out how to be around and present. And this is sort of my favorite quote of the whole book. The key to humanity's survival is, and always has been, kindness, consideration, and cooperation. And I think we've lost it.
I think we've lost those.
We treat people so inhumanely. We back away when people are suffering. We don't just reach out and say, I'm thinking of you today. How are you doing? Like, I'm going to, drop off. I'm going to bring you a coffee. I'm going to, whatever. I want to spend some time with you, just listening to you. Mm-hmm. We don't do any of that. We don't have
consideration where you listen to and think about others' thoughts and opinions, and instead of having
or consider that they might be in a sad space right now, and that maybe you need to reach out, that they're not.
Be considerate. And then cooperate, definitely. It's a lot harder to find groups of people, volunteers, teams, anything that are cooperating.
And inhumaneness seems to be the rule of the day. Good manners are manhood in action, and they communicate respect. And he says that means stand up when someone enters a room, make eye contact,
ask questions, and show interest in other people.
Don't interrupt, say please and thank you, and be prepared. And my number 7 is take your freaking hat off when you sit down at a table. I don't care if you're... My dad was a farmer. He took his hat off when he came in the house
and sat at the table.
Manners.
And I mean, we were very proud of our son at his fiance's shower because
and people noticed that
he walked in and there were 24 guests, and he walked around and gave everybody a few moments of time and thanked them for coming.
No, he really interacted with all the guests, which are manners. Manners show that a man knows who he is. So basically he ends by saying, give back. He writes at the back of the book a letter to his sons. And it's like, give back, cry, appreciate your parents for who they are, and always take care of your mom. That's his last kind of big statement.
Sentence. Yep.
So June 30th, we're going to keep on the fatherhood theme with what the book, The Fatherhood Manifesto, a defense of fatherhood and 50 practical tips to be a better, more involved dad by Alex Berenson. So if there's one thing that stood out to me today, is that being a good man isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, taking responsibility, and caring for the people around you.
And maybe remembering that strength isn't just toughness, it's kindness.
And kindness isn't niceness.
No.
He's a kind person, but he's just not he
nice can be phony.
Yeah. He's kind. Speaks the kind people speak the truth and say where things are at. So
so it's not just being tough, it's kindness, resilience, humility, and having the courage to keep growing.
For sure.
Having a growth mindset.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these ideas resonated with you, challenged you, sparked a conversation in your family?
So please leave a comment, send us a message, or share this episode with someone who might appreciate it, especially during Father's Day month.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
And until next time, be kind, be authentic, and keep making room for what matters the most.
And live your best life.
Good night.